Welcome, my friends, to Prog Monster. My name is Murph. I am the host of this show. This is a show that is dedicated to progressive rock and other forms of rock music. So today we're doing our series, Day 29, Progressive Rock Albums from the 1980s. So for those of you who are not aware of what we're doing here, basically I'm doing a one album per band for 31 days of the month, in which I'm listening to an album I have not heard from these bands, from any of them. And some of these bands are bands that I have had lots of experience with. I own lots of stuff with them. Some are bands that I have some of their stuff, but not this particular album. Some are bands I've only heard of, but this is the album I've chosen. And then the last one is bands I didn't know anything about and haven't heard anything from before. And so that's what we're doing. So I'm just listening to it for the first time and getting a kind of a feeling for the album and presenting that here. So today is, of course, Day 29, featuring a band called News for Babel, working with work resumes on the tower. So obviously this is about the Tower of Babel. Don't need to be a rocket science to figure that out. And so this album will come out, of course, December the 29th, which is tomorrow morning. And this will be Day 29, only 2 more days to go. I got some pretty interesting stuff for the last 2 days, I think. 2 bands that I'm kind of looking forward to. So about this band, okay, so this is an avant-garde type band. I'm not big on that type of music or the RIO bands, but I've been trying to give them a generous donation here to my listening time so that I can give them a reasonably fair chance at it. So far I have not been so successful. This band is not going to be much different. Not overly crazy about it. Probably the first. Well, actually, no. I wrote the tracks down and then I found out what their order was in. So they're kind of all over the place. But I'll try to do them in the order that I presented them here. Now, this is the story of them either building the Tower of Babel or redoing the Tower of Babel. I think it's building the Tower of Babel. So we may do this a bit different. I may not do track by track because it doesn't really make sense if you have one that's a continuous story to try and break the parts down. It's the same as I did on my look back at a classic rock album with Tommy. I find that difficult to do, but at the same time I think sometimes you have to adjust your methods to suit the setup of the song. So lots of keyboards on this album. We'll get right into it. Lots of keyboard noises on this album. Lots of twin vocals, which means that I think sounds like there's 2 girls in the band and both girls are singing together. They're not harmonious, and they do more voice talk over and vocals as well. So there's a kind of a talking voice that turns into a vocal voice. And a lot of the songs are done by both girls, so they give this kind of it's almost like watching a stage play vocals. That's kind of how I feel about it. You're watching a play and 2 people are singing, and clearly they aren't they're not harmonizing, but they're vocaling together. Quite a bit of that on this album. There are some solos, not bad. Some good keyboard solos. Some actually horn solos, and I'm going to say it's a French horn. That's what it sounds like. Couple of those songs like that. I will touch on a few of those things. I will do a little bit on the songs, but just to touch on the musical parts. Some good. There are some catchy riffs at times and periods, punctuated by quiet, vocally kind of instrumental bits and noises. There's a lot of that on the album. That's pretty much the way it is, the whole album. So some songs I didn't mind. There was one song, there was 2 or 3 songs that I probably gave like a 5 to. The rest were below that. So I would say this album is really a pass with me, but it's not a terrible album. Maybe it would grow on me if I listened to it in time. Not really planning to get it. I've since canceled my trip to the big city because the the problem with the big city is that they're so. Toronto especially is bad for this, trendy. So right now the big trend in Toronto, in this area, sorry, oh, it's on this hand, I got all these black marks I didn't notice. So the big trend in Toronto right now is vinyl. Everything's vinyl. So you go to all these record stores and they're just cram packed with vinyl. I'm not a vinyl collector. I never have been. In fact, when CDs came out, I was more than ecstatic to get rid of my vinyl collection. I don't really like vinyl. There's lots of reasons why I don't. People say it's a more raw and a better sound. I don't hear it. Sorry. Even though Neil Young was one of the first people to say there's a difference in the technology of CDs and the technologies of vinyl, and I think he was right about that. But the CD itself is fine to me. The CD itself is fine, and the vinyl itself is fine. Like that. Well, actually, I don't really like the vinyl overall. It's too big. It's too lumpy. It scratches easier. It bends easier. You have to take much better care when you're traveling around with it. It's bulky. Yeah, there's lots of reasons why I prefer the CD. And it's technology. The problem and the good thing about the CD technology, a lot of the vinyl analog technology has been now placed on the CD, so they're much better. But I never really had an issue with it to begin with. So, anyways, that I digress from what I'm doing here. So, anyways, my trip with them, that I think has been canceled. I don't see the point to it. You just 3 hours there and 3 hours back, and then stuck in traffic for what? For maybe finding an album or two. I'd rather just save the money and buy what I want here, and then go somewhere else at another point or make another plan. But anyways, back to the album. I'm sorry for the digress. This album, overall, for an avant-garde album, it isn't that bad. Maybe one of the better ones that I've liked, but I don't really like it all that much. There are a couple tracks that I don't mind. And like I've said, all the different things about it. There are a lot of fairly interesting instrumental parts on this album. And the vocals are a little different. Sometimes I think the girls are a little bit out of tune. And their voices are not really harmonious, like I said. So those are, to me, two negatives. So anyways, overall, you got your opening track, Odysseus, of course. Kind of a synth organ opening. Vocals are the noisy type that we've talked about already, and it switches from horn to vocal parts and back and forth. Okay, not a bad song. I passed it. The Auschwitz Babel. Now, I'm not sure how Auschwitz fits in with Babel here. Maybe somebody knows the connection between these two that I'm not aware of. To me, Auschwitz is the German concentration camp. Maybe there's something that I'm missing here, but I don't see what it is. Anyways, a nice synth opening, pretty. And a lot of those they like it when they do their synthesizer and have these little background noises that are all kind of all over the place. Yeah, overall, not a bad tune. The only thing with this song is that to me the vocals are kind of off key here, and it's possible that they did that on purpose for whatever reason. I'm not sure. And there's a horn at the end, which isn't too bad for background, but I didn't really like the song. I only gave it a 3. It lost my interest fairly quickly. Number 3 is Client's Bottle. Yeah, it's okay. It's a nice cut of horn and piano to end the album. That's not too bad. Number 4, Black Gold, some high twin vocals here. I didn't like the vocals here at all. First of all, they're not in harmony and they're high pitched. And female high pitched vocals don't always sit well with me. There's some that can do it and then some that cannot. There is a bit of a catchy beat here as far as the drums and the keyboards go, and I like that part of it. And then they went back to the vocal and horn part and then back to the thing, so they kind of jumped around a bit. I didn't mind the song. I passed it. 5, the 5th song, Devils. I think it was the worst song on the album. I'm not going to say anything more about it. So, the next song up, Dry Leaf. Didn't mind this one. Had a nice mellow guitar opening with some, again, the noises. Then some piano joins in, and then some twin vocals. So it goes from this acoustic guitar bit that's really mellow to a piano bit, followed by twin vocals, and then breaks into this horn and riffing part, and then a horn solo at the end. So not too bad. It had a kind of a direction that it went somewhere with the song. And overall, as part of the song, you can see that they're building to a climax here. Arcades of Glass. This was the easiest track to find on the internet because it was the one that showed up everywhere I looked. And it starts out with this kind of 40s style radio kind of background where something's playing on the radio in this 40s style. Some piano machine opening. And the female vocal, twin vocal part. It's kind of voice and vocals together. There was a bit of a screeching noises with some harp. So they were playing this harp. To me, a harp is a very mellow kind of soothing instrument, and then they got the screeching noise, but it didn't really work for me too well. Some rhythmic keyboard part there is pretty decent, and some piano part with some noises at the end. The piano part I didn't mind it. I don't know why the constant noises. I think possibly what the reason is for the noises, and if somebody is more familiar with this album, maybe they can answer the question. I think my feeling is that these are the noises of people working on the tower, and they just keep going on throughout the song, and there's different preludes or different breakaways to like soliloquies almost to what's happening, and then you still have these noises going on in every track. And that would make sense. That makes perfect sense to me, and I think that that's likely what it is. I haven't done any reading about it other than I know because of the news from Babel and it's work on the tower, it's got to be that, right? What else would it be, right? Okay, so the next track is Victory, and this one and the ninth track kind of are tied together quite a bit. So this is kind of climactic here, I think. You got an acoustic guitar, almost a Mexican sounding guitar here, or a Spanish flamenco type guitar. It's not flamenco, but it has that Spanish sound to it. The vocals are good on this particular track. I don't mind them. It's a bit of harmony in the overall sound of it. Keyboard solo, a bit. It's a little bit. It's not really a solo. To me, a solo is a full range thing. This is just bits and pieces of a solo. So to me, that's what better describes it. And then there's a piano that kind of interludes with some more keyboards. Pretty solid. And then the last track, which is kind of tied in with it together, they kind of have this vocal mid-range point here, and then some nice drums that precede a very heavy rhythmic track over, or like over top track. So it's really strong. Yeah, so not an overally bad song. So this track, I didn't give you the names of all the tracks because it's telling a story, so it's not, you can't really break it into parts. I'm only breaking it into parts for the musical part so I can describe the instrumentation they use. But really it kind of starts out as you can hear the noises and people are getting kind of, it sounds like they're getting a little sides to talk about what's going on, and then there's more of this noise and this stuff, and eventually it climaxes with the noises starting to fade. So maybe that's the end. Maybe the tower's been built. So anyways, and then there's just as much of a chance that I have no idea what I'm talking about here. I'm just telling you what I hear. That's basically what it is. So not bad, but it's not an album I'll probably listen to again anytime soon. Maybe I'll change my taste for avant-garde, but at this point in time, I'm not really a huge fan of this style of music. I recognize there's some fairly good instrumentation on this album, but it seems kind of disjointed and kind of, not really all tied together too well. There's not a lot of real catchy music here. Yeah. Anyways, it is what it is. For day 29, progressive rock albums from the 1980s. News from Babel. Work resumes on the tower is the name of the album. So I hope you like what I talked about. Please, by all means, make comments and stuff, because this is all new to me. That's why this is what we're doing this month. We're listening to stuff for the first time so we can kind of expand our horizons and get to know some different styles of music that perhaps we wouldn't have if we didn't do something like this. So that's basically what this is about, and so this is new to me, and so if you have more experience with it, you want to make comments about it, by all means, please do so. I'm open to listening to what people have to say. So anyways, I did like, so please like, I didn't mind. Please like and subscribe, it's much appreciated, and we'll be back on day 30 with progressive rock albums from the 1980s, number 30. So have a good one. Bye.